I got one last question. It might be controversial. You let me know. Do you even own a tie?
Do I own a tie? I got, you know what? I wore ties for about 30 years.
Oh, okay. Because you're not photographed wearing a tie very often. I got news for you.
The Business of Betting podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. 4 out of the top 5 U.S. operators personalize player experiences with Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/businessofbetting. And if you like what you see, you will get your first month free.
All right, welcome back to the Business of Betting podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Edelstein, senior analyst at InGame. Today, I am joined by the owner and CEO of Circa Resort Casino, Derek Stevens. Derek, pleasure to meet you, sir.
Great to meet you. Glad to be on today.
All right. So, I got to start by saying that I've been to Vegas 3 times in my life. All right. And I've yet to make it out to Circa. So I'm an outsider. Okay. But when I think of Vegas and when I think of Circa, I almost put it in 2 different buckets. I feel like I'm either going to go to Vegas or I'm going to Circa. That's the sense that I have. Now, is that something, why do I feel that way? Why do I kind of separate it a little bit in my mind? As from your perspective, is that good? Like, if that's the message that I'm getting?
I never heard someone think about coming to Vegas or coming to Circa that way. I would say we're right in the mix of what is Vegas, all Vegas. I'd say, that's kind of the way I look at it. We're located on Fremont Street. Fremont Street's going to do 25 million visitors this year. So that's a little more than half of the total visitation of all of Las Vegas. So Fremont Street ended up stopping at Circa. So I would say we're a good blend part of Vegas. So that's the way I've always looked at it.
Well, yeah, I wasn't meaning it in a derogatory manner at all. I almost feel like you guys are brand new, relatively speaking. Obviously, I mean, I think you were the first new big resort in the decades. It almost feels like it's an elevated experience, like that I'm going to go to Circa because I want to be at the sports book there. I want to be at the swim. I want this personalized experience that you give customers. So, I mean, that's the sense that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get that. And I would say, yeah, I think that's very, very, very true. We love the guests that stay at our property, but effectively, I would say 90% of our guests are not staying at our property. I mean, we only have so many hotel rooms between our 3 properties. We have about 1,250 hotel rooms. Majority of guests that come to Vegas are staying somewhere else, and then they're booking a reservation for a table for a game in the sports book, or booking a cabana or a day bed at Stadium Swim, or a dinner reservation at Barry's, or, a sunset deal over at Legacy Club on the roof. So I would just say that I appreciate your comment that it's a bit more of an elevated experience, but it's part of the experience a lot of people have on their Vegas trip.
Gotcha. Watching you walk the floor and, with the Circa Millions and stuff, which we'll talk about a little bit later, you strike me as someone who would have been pretty comfortable like in 50s, 60s era Las Vegas, maybe even more so than today.
I think I kind of love a little bit of Vegas history, American history. And yeah, I think that was a heck of an era. It wasn't before my time, but I certainly want to give some reverence to those forefathers that kind of paved the way. I'm a big believer that some of the early decisions in gambling had an impact on how the way future entrepreneurs thought about things. And, I think a lot about how the Golden Nugget in downtown Vegas, how that was Steve Wynn's first investment in Vegas, and how that impacted him to develop the Mirage. And for me, the Mirage was probably the most transformational hotel casino resort in Las Vegas history. It was a very unique design. It opened up Las Vegas to the masses. It was about entertainment and Siegfried and Roy, and it was really something special. And then you had all the other hotels that were basically 3-spoke hotels, and it focused on high-end shopping and high-end culinary experiences and the shows. That really then played on it, and it impacted, the next probably 10 major casino designs in Vegas and throughout the country. So I think some of those early decisions have had, a multiplier effect as decades roll by.
I was going to save this for later. I'm going to ask it now. Is Circa, in your eyes, is it the zenith for you, or is there more to come?
Well, it was 20 years ago I came to Vegas and I bought 50% of the Golden Gate. And we took a shot at something. My brother and I, we put $7.5 million into a a little casino. I liked it because I could differentiate the product. It was the oldest building in Vegas. It had the address of 1 Fremont Street. And I thought, if we can make it, no one can take that away. No one can copy it, and we'll see what happens. And if we go bust, we go bust, and back to Michigan we go. But it worked out, and we tried a lot of things. I mean, you kind of get an advantage when you come in, and you're not, obligated to certain things of the past. We kind of came in with a white slate and a clean slate. We're able to try a lot of things. We failed a lot, but the ones that worked, we kind of really pushed them, and it went from there. So we've had a good 20-year run. To answer your question, though, Circa opened in October of 2020, so about 5 years ago. Is there another thing in us? Well, maybe we could have a lot of fun doing that. But also, this was a big leap for my brother and I. We're still paying off the bank loan, right? So, I went from a high interest rate construction loan. Then we had, private equity and some high risk lenders involved. Now, we're very happy that we're into a conforming bank loan, 6% or a little less interest rate. I enjoy kind of paying the loan back. So I've really enjoyed doing that. Do I want to go all in and bet my whole life and career and every dollar I ever earned again? I don't know. I did it with Circa. And, we had all these different thoughts of best case scenario, an above average case scenario, average, below average, and then cataclysmic. Well, we were very conservative with our cataclysmic perspective. But even when we evaluated cataclysmic perspective, we did not envision, COVID, and we did not envision, everything being shut down. So the environment was worse than our worst case, scenario. Fortunately, we had a lot of equity in the deal. So that kind of put us in a position where we were able to weather through the construction period. And when everything got shut down in March of 2020, we were fortunate that the governor of Nevada allowed for construction to continue, felt that construction was considered essential, which was different from other states. And we were able to actually increase our construction rate on the building. And instead of opening in December of 2020, we opened in October of 2020. And that had a lot of advantages, and we just plowed through. And by then, we were able to open with restrictions, but at least we were able to open and get some people in here and get the cash flow rolling and all that.
Looking now 5 years down the road from that, are you surprised at the success, expected the success, or somewhere in the middle of that?
I would say for me, Circa kind of played out exactly the way I figured. There really weren't a lot of surprises. From an architectural and design perspective, I wore the early version of those VR glasses and whatnot. I walked this property in warehouses, but with these glasses on. I mean, I could walk through the property with my eyes closed and know where every step is and all that. And I could do that before I ever walked on the property. So I kind of had a pretty good feel for it. I never had a wow moment coming in because I was in here every single day as this was coming together. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to design something that provided the wow moment for someone that walked in the first time. And I think we did. I mean, I think there's a handful of those wow moments that impact people's psyche and emotions. I wanted to create something that impacted me. I mean, I know my first time I walked into the Las Vegas Hilton in that Superbook, and I would look up, I go, oh my God, this is the best place on earth right here. When I walked through Caesar's Palace and that's when they had the sports book, oh, wow, is that something? There's those certain moments in time when you walk in, when I first walked into Yankee Stadium, I like something like that, or as a kid, for me, Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Those wow moments are what stick with your heart, stick with your memory. And that's really what I wanted to create and design here. I wanted people now to pull out their phone and go, oh my gosh. And I think that happened. So I think from the emotional perspective, the design hit where we wanted to hit it. And then from financial perspective, it was pretty much right what we planned on. It's a little bit different when you're doing it yourself and you're with a group of people that have been involved. I think, when we went to do our roadshow for financing in New York, there was a lot of question or concern about Stadium Swim. Nobody could really get their hands around why we thought this was going to be a good idea. Most people thought it was a terrible idea. Not even they thought it was a terrible idea. It's a waste of money. What are you doing? All you got to do is have a swimming pool for your hotel guests. And I go, whoa, that's not it at all. The Stadium Swim is going to do, 5,000 people a day. We're only open with 500 hotel rooms. This is going to do 5,000 people a day. This is the attraction that's going to bring people out here. this is going to be not only a money generator, it's also going to be a main attraction for the entire property. This is crucial. A lot of people just didn't get it because the regular formulas were always, how much does something cost per hotel room key? What's your win per unit per day on a slot machine? What's your win per table per day? And this was something out of the box, and there was no way to compare it to a swimming pool. I go, calm down. Don't ever call it a pool again. That's offensive. This is Stadium Swim. This is a named aqua theater. You have to compare it to other aqua theaters, and nobody could do it. But it worked out pretty good.
I think so. Going back to your roots a little bit, I mean, going from, Michigan, Detroit to Vegas, it's Elmore Leonard could have written that novel, I think, So when you were growing up in Detroit and Michigan, was this something as a kid? The answer is no. But looking back, are you surprised that this was the path that your life ended up taking?
I would say I really never thought about being in the casino business as a young kid or in my teens or even in my 20s. It kind of evolved that way. When I was a kid, I wanted to be like what a lot of American boys wanted to be. I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to be a garbage man. I thought that was a pretty cool job.
Ride on the back of the truck. That's the best job.
Yeah. And, get through college. And then I started working in a manufacturing business and I enjoyed it. As part of that manufacturing segment, eventually we were making some money and I wanted to diversify. My brother wanted to diversify and we thought that we'd be able to do that in Vegas.
Let's see how smart Wikipedia is. It was your grandfather started the family business, Cold Heading. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
And you ended up being CEO of that company. That company, again, we're testing Wikipedia here, literally made nuts and bolts?
I'm still the CEO of the company and we make bolts for the automotive industry. Yes.
That's tremendous. So is there a crossover in your mind? Like being the CEO of a bolt company compared to being CEO of such a customer first, operation? Like, is there crossover there or is it just you're using two sides of your brain or how does that work for you?
I think the key thing, people ask me that a lot. I'd say the key thing here is we're running businesses and there's a lot of commonality in running a business. Obviously the product's a little bit different, but you have to have your focus on a customer. You have to have your focus on efficiency. You want to get a good return on your assets, whether it's machines in the automotive industry or whether it's slot machines or table games. You have to take into account your other product costs, your labor costs, your marketing costs, and we're running a business. I would say the big difference, though, of Las Vegas to the Midwest is that casino business, it's 7 days a week. It's a business that has far more customers with a much smaller buy, where, in automotive, you effectively have 6, 7 customers they're a big chunk of your business. So it's just a little bit different where you have to have far more of a retail focus on a broad base of customers out here. But other than that, it's still running a business. Maybe in Detroit, I would go home at night more often. Here, I go down to the casino floor and I meet people.
That's fantastic. Now, you were talking about your brother. So are you and your brother basically in charge or what do you have pull rank?
No, there's no question. I'm the boss, but my brother and I get along great. I'm the older brother. I'm 75%. He's 25%. And we're very fortunate that we are very good partners. We're partners in all of our businesses. We have, I would say, different skill sets. I really rely upon him a lot on a lot of engineering elements and design elements. I'm more the marketing and finance guy and more the guy that does interviews and stuff like that. But no, my brother and I have gotten along. We've gotten along great ever since we've been kids. And I can't really even think I don't really know if we've ever really had an argument. So we're pretty good business partners.
Wow. What's the age difference?
He's 3.5 years younger than me.
Wow. Never had an argument. I can't remember a time when I haven't had an argument with my brother. So that's pretty impressive there. Yeah, a couple more personal things I want to touch on. There was rumors, maybe not rumors, I don't know, that you were toying with the idea of launching a governor bid at some point in the past in Nevada. Is that something that does politics interest you? I mean, my God, what a horrible business that would be.
We have a great governor here in the state of Nevada and very friendly with him, and he's doing a good job. I think when the former governor, I think like you would say, any governor that was governor during COVID probably had a pretty tough follow-up campaign. And there were a lot of people whose names were thrown out there. And yeah, I guess you could say I kind of got a kick out of my name being thrown in that, but I'm not a politician. I'm a business person. I get along with a lot of politicians, but no, that was something that I didn't really float out there myself. That just got put out there.
So I should put to bed immediately any hopes of a stadium swim on the front lawn of the White House?
Yeah, that would be a licensing deal. I would tell you that.
Another little tidbit I picked up, to quote Bill Simmons' half-assed internet research, your wife, you met her when you were in first grade. Is that correct?
Yeah. Catholic school, first day, first grade, September something, 19, early 70s, something like that.
Good gracious. Do you have memory of that?
Yeah, we talk about it more now than ever, but no, we were in the same first grade class. That's when we met. Was it the actual first day? I don't remember my first day of grade school, but that's where we first met, was the first day of grade school.
Oh my gosh. That is one in a million practically, right? Gotta be.
I would say that's probably pretty rare.
So, I mean, obviously a big chunk of, your day-to-day is, well, in fact, probably all of your chunk of your day-to-day is running Circa. You've kind of dipped your toes into the online gambling space. I guess you're in, how many states is Circa Sports in right now?
We launched Circa Sports. Now, that's our sports betting brand. We launched that in 2019 in Nevada, and then we've subsequently been licensed in 5 additional states. So we're in Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, and soon to be Arizona. We launched in Missouri 4 weeks ago. So we're currently licensed in 6 states. We've developed our own software, our own proprietary software, and we plan on growing our Circa Sports brand in additional states where we think our business model fits and can work well in each regulatory environment.
Let me ask you this, though, for real, though. With prediction markets, everywhere, is the juice worth the squeeze on the online sports book at this point?
Well, I think we're in a very interesting time in the history of sports betting. I think that everyone now has come to realize that sports betting has a lot of pluses, far more pluses than minuses. I think it's good for leagues. It's good for players. Sports betting is good for players' unions. It's good for media, and it's good for team owners. It's good for the consumer. I think people all understand that making a bet on a game enhances your enjoyment of the game, frankly, whether it's $5 or $10, or if you have a big budget, a few $1,000s. I think people enjoy sports more. I think one of the unique elements about sports is that people change their lives and their schedules to watch their game. If you're a Yankees fan, if you're a Cubs fan, if you're a Dodgers fan, you're going to want to watch your game. If you're a Packers or Bears fan this upcoming weekend, big playoff game, people are going to adjust their schedule. And I think that's a lot different today than it was maybe 30 years ago. 30 years ago, people would adjust their schedule on Thursday night for must-see TV. From, let's say, from the Cosby Show to Cheers to Friends, you would not miss that. You would adjust your schedule. But now on anything that's pre-recorded, you don't. Now we consume our entertainment on our own schedule. But you can't do that with sports. And then what that's done is that's created this subculture of you can watch the game at home, watch your team at home, but there's a lot more people that want to have the camaraderie of their friends or their family over. They want to watch the game together. And I think the surge of sports betting, it's actually enhancing groups of people to kind of come together. Obviously, I'm in the sports betting business, so I think sports betting has so many positives. Legalized sports betting. The illegal is another story. Offshore is a whole nother story. But I think legalized sports betting has a lot of positives for all these different industries and different groups that I mentioned. When you come to prediction markets, that's obviously the hot topic today. 2 years ago, the hot topic was sweepstakes. And, sweepstakes are effectively, it was an end around way of doing online gambling. But I think it's, sweepstakes are no longer a hot topic. They're all getting flushed out quickly. And I think prediction markets, they're obviously on very thin ice. They're very aggressive in their marketing. I think prediction markets in many areas have value. I don't at all in sports. And I think prediction markets trying to bring sports into their portfolios, I think it's a bad move on their part because I think they're going to lose by the time courts rule. I don't think you get the same value in prediction markets on, putting a bet out there on whether someone's going to make a certain number of free throws in a Laker game, as opposed to, can I put a hedge bet out there on whether my corn crop or my soybean crop or on my interest rate hedge or other reasons to take positions within prediction markets where I do think it makes sense. But getting into sports where it's completely unregulated, there's no governing body, I don't think prediction markets have a long life ahead of them.
Yeah, you've been vocal about it. And so, I mean, with good reason, obviously. I tend to agree with you. It was decided, sports betting was decided as a states' rights issue by the Supreme Court. I have a hard time seeing how they're going to turn their back on that.
I also think in prediction markets, one thing that's worth noting is that I think there has not been enough discussion about how prediction markets impact states. I mean, New York, as an example, has a 51% tax rate. New Jersey's generating a lot of money in sports betting tax revenue. Illinois is another high tax state. Every state, even down in Nevada, makes a lot of money in taxes on legalized sports betting. Well, in prediction markets, that number goes to zero. And I don't know. There's not that many states out there talking about how their budgets are just overflowing right now. I have a hard time believing these state governors and treasurers are saying, oh, that's okay. Prediction markets, even though this was a states' rights issue and we were collecting, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for the state, it's okay. You're shrewd. You did an end around. We're not going to take any of that money. Something's going to happen here. You don't get to be shrewd because you're going to reclassify something and avoid paying IP rights, avoid paying for league data, avoid paying leagues in general for their information, avoid paying states, avoid paying licensing, and avoid paying a lot of the problem gambling elements. FanDuel is not my company, but I mean, FanDuel's putting $200 million in this year for problem gaming. Well, problem gaming is caused by illegals and by prediction markets. So, I mean, I think it's unfair that FanDuel is paying this, but they're spending a lot of money where in prediction markets, the number is zero.
What do you think of some of your online competitors, such as DraftKings, FanDuel, Fanatics, deciding to get into the prediction markets? I find it interesting. There seems to be a pretty clear dividing line that if your business is mostly or almost all online, you're going to go prediction market. And if you have brick and mortar, you guys seem to be waiting it out. Was there any, obviously you're not doing it, but did you ever think for a second, well, maybe we should offer these prediction markets?
I've always respected my brick and mortar license. We've got $1 billion casino I'm sitting in. I'm not going to risk that. I think some of the online guys, that are running a play like they did, 10 years ago when effectively they're making fantasy football a way of introducing gambling through a loophole, that wasn't gaming. And in the meantime, they built up a whopper of a database. When you think about these prediction markets, effectively, who are we going after? They're really going after three markets. It's California, Florida, and Texas. Those three states alone are more than the entire other 38 states of legalized gaming right now. So in this time period, until the Supreme Court rules, they're developing massive database of names in these states to be able to legalize sports betting at some point. I think it's a high risk deal. I think that, take DraftKings as an example, they withdrew their application in Nevada. I don't think DraftKings will ever get licensed in Nevada, and I don't think they will ever get licensed in a number of states based upon what they're doing with prediction markets. I tend to see a number of other states' attorney generals going to start really pushing the envelope on, if you're in prediction markets, you're an enemy of the state. I think they're risking a lot of their future on this.
Gotcha. Let's talk about Millions and Survivor and Grandissimo. Talk about something that has taken off. I mean, wildest dreams, did you think it was going to get as big as it's gotten?
No, I'm thinking about it. When we started Circa Million, that was our handicapping contest. You pick 5 games against the spread each week. And we thought by putting a guarantee on the dollar amount and really pushing it and marketing it, we thought we could give Westgate, a run for their money. And we thought maybe if we push the guarantees up and we can get enough people here, maybe in 3-4 years, maybe we could surpass Westgate. We put some pretty big guarantees out there, off the jump. And we felt we had to do it because we were the upstart company. So things just took off at a quicker rate than what we thought. And then, the second year of the Circa Million contest, we introduced a new contest called Circa Survivor. And we hit lightning in a bottle on this one. I personally had played Survivor for about 30 years. So I was familiar with that. And I was familiar with the emotion. And I thought, my goodness, I can't believe over the years when I would get knocked out of, my Survivor with just my buddies, how emotional it was for me to deal with. And I thought maybe we could bring this game out and make it legal. Jeff Benson, our director of operations, he had played Survivor before, so he was thumbs up. but it was a bit more of a regional game. Not everyone had played it. The rest of our officers that I asked their opinion, they kind of just abstained. They said, we really don't know. We don't really know how this is going to work. But boy, this thing took off. I mean, to think that, a year ago, I never could have dreamed we would have hit $13 million in Circa Survivor. And then this year in the 2025 season, 18.7 million. It's just unbelievable. Tonight is check ceremony night. So we're giving out these checks. But yeah, Circa Survivor, $18.7 million this year. It was won by a total of 5 different contestants that went undefeated. They went 20-0, and they're splitting the 18.7 million tonight. So no, I never really thought it was going to grow like this, but it is such a beautiful football contest. It brings people together. It brings families and couples together. Some of the stories I've heard, it's been really amazing to me over the years when I've heard stories of, I've had a number of spouses come to me and said, I was always a football widow, but I got into it. You rekindled my marriage. It's been great for our kids. We have a family discussion. We participate. It's been terrific. So I've had a lot of fun with it. And then the stories have been terrific.
I mean, have you mapped out any idea of growth, how big it could get? If you do, it's the arrows just going up, 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 up.
Yeah, I mean, we were 8 million a couple of years ago, then 13 million, and then 18 million this year. I don't know how you map it out. At some point, you wonder, can it really go anymore? I don't know. Maybe it can. I think it can still. So
I think it definitely can, because I think it's still, people I know about it, and I gamble. I haven't played it yet, but it's getting to the point where I kind of have to play it now. You know what I mean? Just become part of when I think of football, I'm thinking of Survivor. Benson, did you guys know each other before you hired him on at Circa, or was that?
No, he got brought in by our director at that time when we were going to start up in the sports betting business. This was probably 2017, 2018 timeframe. Matt Metcalf brought Jeff in, and I feel great that I had a chance to meet him. And yeah, Jeff worked his way up. He's director of operations for our sport, and one of the areas he oversees is our sports operation.
Yeah, one of the best. I've been a journalist for almost 30 years. He's one of the best quotes ever. I know if I'm talking to Jeff, I'm going to get something good.
Yeah, for sure. He's a great follow on Twitter too.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me the pitch. I've never been to Circa before. I want to go to Circa next year because.
Well, I mean, we built Circa to address every needs and wants to get away from hometown USA. There's no better city in the world. 335 days of sunshine per year. Stadium Swim is open 365 days a year. So you're able to come out and enjoy the sunshine, whether it's the summer, whether it's the dead of winter. It's a great place to come out and enjoy, have a couple drinks, have some great, great dinners, and get some good gambling in. Our rooms are spectacular. They're second to none. I would put my record and my reputation on the quality of our hotel rooms, that I view them as best in class. And it's a great place where you still get a pretty good value when you come to Las Vegas.
I got one last question. It might be controversial. You let me know. Do you even own a tie?
Do I own a tie? My God, you know what? I wore ties for about 30 years, and I currently wear ties on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I do not wear them on Fridays because people that come into town, Friday's a big arrival day. None of our customers wear ties, so I don't want to be off-putting. I'm still a guy that wears a tie to the office on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday type of thing. So I'm a big tie guy. At my house, I currently have 5 tie racks. So yeah, I'm a tie guy.
Oh, okay. Because you're not photographed wearing a tie very often. I got news for you.
No, that's true. That's true.
All right. Well, Derek, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day today. Have fun tonight handing out those couple $1 million in checks. We'll talk to you again soon, man. I really appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thank you for your time. Great to see you. And I hope you come to Circa. I'd love to have a drink with you.
You'll see me soon.
All right.
The Business of Betting podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. 4 out of the top 5 U.S. operators personalize player experiences with Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/businessofbetting. And if you like what you see, you will get your first month free.